Hey guys, good evening. Welcome to this series. This is episode 3, and on this series of mastering, mocking, and stubbing in Cypress with Cypress written on TypeScript. So what we're going to do in this one is quickly, we're just going to write a very first basic mocking test using Cypress, and in doing so, I would like you to sort of learn the very basic syntax of mocking, and I'm going to be doing it in a very basic and rudimentary manner. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just go to our VS Code and obviously show the Cypress project we set up for this purpose. Okay, now we're ready. This is my VS Code that I actually on my Cypress project. This is Cypress project that we've been using in this series. Really, there's nothing basically on this project. It's just a brand new, nothing, just bootstrap a Cypress project on TypeScript. And as you can see, there's nothing so much here. I've only just done these two, which is obviously just to give us a full screen resolution, just to match the screen I would be writing this test. And again, these are just basic things. Here, I have just written a health check really. And on this health check, there's really nothing there other than just visit and confirm that we are actually on this application that we talked about. So this application that we've been talking about is this, just to make sure that we can come to the homepage of this application is all I've really done. So let's go and run this test just to make sure that everything is really working as we expected it to work. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go to, let's go to Cypress. Sorry, I'm going to go to Cypress here, press and enter, and then hope that this will take me to the, so I'm going to go to this extend. That's where I kept the Cypress project, and I'm going to get into this rudimentary. There you go. So now we're here. The first thing I need to do is to run this project as a, a side debug. So I'll just do that. Run this in a debug mode. Now, if you really want to know what that command is, because that's a custom command, this custom command is simply just going to run Cypress open, really, nothing so much. And I can actually also upload this project on a GitLab, my free GitLab repository, so you can actually go and clone it and use it. But it's easy to sort of bootstrap a Cypress project for yourself. But in your case, you will be working or you'll be writing the test on the Cypress project you're using in your company. All right, so what we're going to do is just to run that, spin that up. So I'm just going to run this and run this Cypress in a debug mode and see what we get. So that's what comes up. And I'm going to, let's choose Chrome just for the sake of simplicity. So here you can see that we got this basic test that we've written. All it does is just to visit and then just confirm that this application is fully loaded, just for the sake of sanity, really. And I've just done that. So now we've done that now, just don't worry about this sandbox here. There are other things I put in here, but I'm going to explain it as we journey along. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start writing this Cypress mocking test. So the first thing I want to do is to obviously collapse this whole thing, open it up again so we can know, go to Cypress and then go to E2E. Within this E2E, I want to create a directory. Probably let's call this like, let's say login mocks. So, or I can just say let's say login mocks like that. So that's just a directory. In this case, if we start to write our tests, essentially, in Cypress TypeScript, what we need to do is we just need to give it any name. So we just say this is a login test. So let's say login test. Actually, let's do underscore login test. And then, but you have to remember to end it with the cy.ts, which is TypeScript. Now we've done that, you can see that I'm just having a little conical flask here showing that this is a test anyway. So, and I've just zoomed this, I've just zoomed this in so we can kind of see. So the first thing we do when you want to write Cypress test is to write your describe. So here, sorry, not this one. I'm just going to write it manually myself. So I'm just going to say describe and I'm going to do that. So this is giving me auto completion, really is giving me something nice here. So the first thing I need to do is to say login test here. And I'm going to complete this. I'm just going to do, do that and complete that. All right, so that's the first thing we get, login test. So in this login test, then when you want to do scenarios, you have things like all this eat and all of that. So here I'm going to do login test. I'm just going to say eat should. There you go. So the autocomplete is actually helping me out there. So I'm just going to do that and then close this as well. So here is the first scenario. It is just one scenario that I just really want to do. So the first thing is to do site.visit. Yeah. And when I do site.visit, I want to visit the home page. So in this case, I'll do that. I am able to do this / because I have on this place actually put up the base URL. That's why. Otherwise, you have to copy the whole thing and just hard code it here. But obviously, if you want some lessons on TypeScript, there will be more videos actually coming up on Cypress actually. So let's go here. So the first thing I want to do on this application is really just go to this application. The first thing we want to do is to go to this. Let's log out here for now. So I'm just going to log out. First thing we want to do is to click on this to actually expose this logout. Let's put it on a light mode to expose this this login button. So you have to click here. So to click on that, you have to actually inspect this code. Well, if I inspect this code here, I can give you like a login thing. So let's go here and then let's look at this class. This class contains probably, let's say this href here. I can just use that, and I'll just go here and just do the second one. The second one is I want to say site.get, and I want to get this, then I want to get, and I want to say that's I think that is an anchor tag of href, and then href there is login. Click on that. That's the first thing. So that I will click on that. So once it clicks on it, the next thing you want to actually aim to get is actually not the test. The next thing we really want to get is to inspect this, to type username, type the password, and then log in. So let's do that. I'm just going to inspect this, and I'm going to click on this. The input tag of type, let's say placeholder, type your email, and a password one will still be, so if we go inspect, and then go to password, it will still be like input tag of type your password here. So I'm just going to really copy. In fact, let's copy all of this so it will be easier for us. And then also the submit button here would be, what is it? So submit button is a button of type submit. That should be enough really. So let's go back and write all of this code. So the next thing we want to do is to do site.get, and I'll type here. I don't want to use this, but obviously it's giving me something to work with. So here I will just get rid of this and just say placeholder of type password. The other one was of type username. I think it was of type username. Sorry, of type email. Yeah, actually, so email. Type your email. And what's the email address you want to type? We're going to type in the email address that we talked about, which is johndoe@tesma.com. So I'm going to put this here. It is going to type this, and then again I'll copy paste this just to repeat. And this time is just a password, isn't it? And then I'm just going to go here and get the password. So let me just copy the password over here and then paste it in. So I have pasted this in. So this test is nearly complete. Then the last thing I want to do is to click on submit button. So that's completely correct really. So going to be a button of type submit. Once we've done that, we are going to, obviously the next thing we need to do is to just go and confirm that we are actually logged in really. So if we log in, so the next thing is to do, probably let's find the information that is contained on that. So let's do like, probably let's say contains something like, let's say, let's see what we can see on that application once we log in. Okay, this one is not logged in. So let's find whichever that is actually logged in. So this will say something like John Doe. Let's just confirm that we can see something like John. That should be enough really. So I'm just going to minimize this one, and I'm going to say that I'm going to see John. Okay, so then it should be visible. So this should be enough. If we run this test, guys, this test will simply, as you can see the way the test is really. If I run this test actually, let's just zoom it out. So you can confirm the whole thing all in one screen. So here it is. If I run this test will talk to the actual API endpoint. But let's run it anyway just to confirm that the test works, because at this point we haven't actually set up the mock. So let's go back to the code and let's go back to the specs and let's pick up this login test. Hopefully everything being all right. There you go. So John Doe is logged in, everything passed, and you can see that the word John is actually visible on the page as we actually expected. Everything worked. Now, because everything works, if you go back, you see that probably if you retain the history, you could actually, so if you actually preserved, I don't know if Cypress will let us do that, but you would actually see that this actually preserved. Let's rerun the test and see if it preserved that actually for us. So let's go back. If indeed it did, so you can see that there are things coming down, and you can see that clearly see here that is actually hitting this endpoint. It is actually making a get call and it's returning status code 200. And if you go to response, you can see this is information that is coming back. This is interesting. Okay, so the next thing we need to now do is to actually mock this off. To mock it off, we need to actually go here and set up mock. So most people actually will just do before and set it up, but just for simplicity, I really want us to just set it up at the top here. But obviously, you should be able to put this in your before hook. So what should we do? What we need to do is to do Cypress.intercept here. The intercept would give us something like this. And I'm just going to accept. So obviously, this is just helping me to create a like template. So let's zoom this. Zoom this out again. So I'm just going to zoom this. Sorry, let's zoom it in again. So this intercept here is Cypress Intercept. I'm going to go to get, and I'm going to go to API, and the endpoint is off, and it's going to go to, actually it goes to section here. Section is that. So if you want to, section, if you want to confirm that now, again, just one more time, you can actually come here and then go, actually, let's go to this one that I just showed you a few minutes ago. So you can see that this section was actually hitting to this. So I just copy this from here really instead of typing. Too much typing. So if I go here, I'm just going to make sure that this is correct. There you go. So that's correct. So the next thing I want to do, obviously, once I log on here, I want it to actually appear as if we have actually just logged in. So the next thing I want to say is I want to type the status code here. The status code here is I want it to return 200 because that's exactly what it's been returning. The next thing is the body that it returns. The body that it returns is actually a JSON. And what is this JSON? Well, you guessed it right. So that's the section that this thing just returned. So I'm just like following these like baby steps. So it should return this, right? So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go back in here and actually had code it here for the time being. So this is the information that I expect this to actually spit out at me. So you can see. So what happens now that we set up this intercept, it's kind of a trigger. Now that you've set up this intercept, what happens is whenever this call is made and there is a place, that it does this API call. But this API call, talking to this section happens whenever you click this submit button to actually log in. So the API call happens at this stage. So API call to or API to /API/auth/section happens after you've clicked this button. And once it happens, what we want to do is we want to do cy.wait at login. Now, when you want to wait, because we've talked about this aliasing, the aliasing is just a concept whereby you set up a trigger, and once you set up this trigger, you have set up something, you give it like a name, so like a label, where this is just more like creating a variable where you create a variable and that variable has a name. and that variable stores in all of this information. And when this trigger event occurs, the data will be cached kind of in here. And that's what I'm waiting for. And I said it is at this point that this call would happen on this application. In the application you'll be testing, it will be important for you to actually know at what point the call would be happening. So in this case here, it is at this point that it will happen. Once it happens, I want to actually, this would actually insert it and then do what it needs to do. And then all of this will still pass, because at this point, the data we feed in here is still exact same data we're expecting. But in this case, believe it or yes, this intercept will now kick in. It will no longer talk to the real endpoint. Let's go to the test. The test should still pass as we expected. There you go. So test is still passing. If we rerun this test again, just manually, the test should still pass. But as you can see now, the test is no longer going to the endpoint. If there's a way of confirming this now, we can go and confirm that. But for now, that's not the case. How we will now be able to verify that this is still working now is we're now going to change some of this data here. So instead of John, shall we now say Jane? Instead of Doe, shall we now say Bond, like that? And this is going to be Jane Doe. So this is Jane, and this is going to be Jane Bond at tesma.com, something like that. So the test will now fail because you try to log in, the login will be successful, but the intercept will kick in and actually return its own data, which is the data we have modified. This is the data that will be coming back, and this assertion will now fail because you'll be looking for John. Let's go back and confirm. There you go. So this is now saying contains John. So essentially it doesn't contain John. If you look here carefully, if I just zoom this a little bit more, or if I just zoom this a little bit more, you will see that this is now Jane Bond instead of John Doe, and this is jane.bond at tesma.com. So you see that the intercept is actually working because it's no longer actually going to talk to the API. There could be ways, obviously for now, let's just have a quick look that this section that is talking to now, you can see that when it talks to it previously, the last call here was actually getting the right thing before now. So if I keep going up and up just to get the one that happened before credentials, if we can get anyone now. But anyway, so what I'm trying to say is the last one here now is getting back. So if I zoom this a little bit, you can see that this is now Jane, this is now Bond. Jane Bond is now what is returning. Again, it's still hitting this endpoint, but intercept kicks in. And so when you hit this endpoint and it is a get, please return static code 200 and the rest of things. Okay, so that's that really. Quickly again, just to recap quickly, we now need to now go and fix our test because obviously this is going to look for Jane. Let's make the test to pass. If we now go back, the test should now pass. There you go. So the intercept is now fully up and working. Quickly before we end this section, this edition here, if you look carefully here, you see that this data here is fully hard-coded. There is a better way we can just tidy up this data. But before we do that really quickly, you can see that this is, so what is intercept is saying one more time is that it says, whenever you hear a get call that is going to this endpoint, please quickly intercept this thing and just return exactly what I've given you. Now, quickly, guys, you might ask a simple question. What if this data, because obviously over time, this data will grow out of proportion. How can we tidy this up? Well, there is a better way of tidying this up, guys, and I'll be showing you guys that way of cleaning this up using something called fixture in the next episode. Thank you so much, guys. I really enjoy you actually just watching my YouTube videos. Please, could you help me out to grow by subscribing to my channel? Thank you.